Okay, welcome. We are going to take a small look at using a tool called Gimkit. So to help guide us through this tool, Gimkit, we have Mr. Lawai here. Mr. Lawai, welcome.
Hello, Mr. Patrick. Thank you.
Yeah, and thank you very much for being here. So tell us about Gimkit.
Of course, definitely. Thank you for having me. So Gimkit, as you said, it's a tool that teachers can use, which is a lovely resource, especially that is it's interactive and continuously engaging. So it's a nice break sometimes from Kahoots, where students will do their inputs and then they'll have like a small little buffer. So this constantly keeps their minds working and engaging, and it's really interactive. And there's different modes, as I will show you through. So once you enter the website, which is gimkit.com. Once you enter it, you're going to click on educator sign up. Now, the wonderful thing about this is it has a paid feature and a free feature. The free feature entails a lot of things that you would need. You really don't need the one that you need to pay, but it does have a 30-day trial for the advanced. So you could also try that out for assortment. So once you log in, you're going to click educator sign up. It's really straightforward and thorough. I already have a login, so I'm just going to log in that way. And then, so once you log in, the wonderful thing about Gimkit is now they're incorporating like a lot of different interactive forms of lessons. So for instance, at your convenience or at your time, you can go through a tour, something that they have called Gimkit Inc., which for instance, students can make their own interactive PowerPoints. It's like PowerPoint and Microsoft Word, but much more simplified. So it's lovely for making demonstrations, trailers, and whatnot, what have you. There's also publications and stories. But today we're going to be focusing on the Gimkit Live tool feature, which is like a gaming platform. So you would click on Gimkit Live. So I already have a lot of Gimkits. So for instance, I'm just going to walk you through how to start one entirely from scratch. When you make your account for new, you will not see any of these, right? You will not have any of these. So you'll click on over here, the top right, it says new kits. When you click on new kit, you're going to give your kit a name, right? So for instance, I would click language arts. And then the lovely thing about this is that it incorporates many languages. So for instance, if you wanted, ACA also has Arabic. So if you were trying to do this for something for Arabic, or if you were using this in another language, this is a really good reference, right? And as you could see, it's quite popular, and they have a lot of options to choose from, very wide range. So for me, obviously I'll stick to English, and I already have English language arts as my default. Then you have an assortment of photos. You could search for any photos. You can even do a link. So I'll just click on something simple for now. Immediately, it'll give you this pop-up on the top left where it'll say add question, create with flashcards, continue with KitLab, add from question bank, import from spreadsheet. Very thorough, very thorough. You can start off just to get to know this interface by clicking on add question. When you click on add question, you have you would type in your question at the top. So for instance, when do we use capital capitalization, right? And then you would write your first answer here, right? And then you would write the wrong answer. So it's very straightforward, right? So for instance, obviously there's different forms, but start of a sentence, right? And then here you would click the wrong answers and what have you. Or at the top here, you see a multi-choice, and you can also see a text input. This would be wonderful for instance, if you're trying to improve students' vocabulary, spelling, or for math, right? If you want actual math input answers. So if you do like 10 minus 5, and then the only way that they'll get it right is if they input the correct, and it's case sensitive. So if, for instance, if they don't do a capitalization correctly, or if they fail to do a punctuation correctly, then it will give them the wrong answer, right? So once you do it, then you move on. For those of the educators that are familiar with Kahoot, they will realize that it's actually very similar, like the interface, especially the inputting of questions and answers. What you can do is you can even split the screen, for instance, and you can have your Kahoot on the other side. And then when you're incorporating questions or adding questions, and you can open up one of your Kahoots, And then, for instance, you scroll down and then you can click on any of these questions, right? And then you can copy and paste them so that you save yourself some time, right? And then you can copy, but make sure you align the correct answers with the one on the top. Because for Gimkit, it will always be the first one. But for the Kahoot, if you open it up, it's obviously in different orders. So once you do that, and then you type in the right answer, you're going to be, and then what have you, no, yes, maybe, just for the sake of time. Okay. And then once you're finished, you're going to click on Finish Gimkit. And by the way, there's also, just for your reference, you can add photos, you can upload them, you can look for them in their own library, or you can link it as well. And it's really wonderful. So for instance, I'm teaching my students, we're reading the book Holes, and for instance, one of the words was callous, that I'm trying to let them improve their vocabulary and spelling. So I would open up a picture, obviously a mild picture of it, and then they would be able to type it in. So I can make it multiple choice, or I can make it text input if I'm trying to allow them to improve their spelling and vocabulary as well. So once that is done, you will click on Finish Gimkit. And then when it's time to play, you simply log in again to your Gimkit, and then you click on Gimkit Live as we did prior, and then you select the one that you would like to play. So for instance, for tomorrow, I will select this one. I'll click on Play Live. What's lovely about it is that if students really, really, really enjoy it, and by the way, is that it will quickly take over the entire 45, 50 minutes or what have you, just by playing 2-3 different games. You can assign it for homework as well, which is really fun because parents will see, and especially if it's spelling based, or if it's word problem based, or math problem based, it'll be really, really good practice, and they could play it offline against their friends, which is lovely. So they'll click on Play Live during class. They always add new game modes, so this is really fun, and it keeps students engaged and whatnot. You always, I think, would like to start with Classic. When you start with Classic, it's just every student works individually, and it's a good builder up. There's no pressure and whatnot. So when you click on Classic, you get to control the duration of the game. So good 10 minutes is a good benchmark for the first time that you use it. And then it tells you how much, if they get it wrong, how much they lose. And I recommend, for the first time that you use it, and especially depending on the competitiveness of your students, you click Clean Power-Ups Only. Allows you for themes, power-ups, joining late. This is good. Sometimes you will note that it crashes, especially if internet is a bit shoddy. So if you allow this feature, they can refresh and it will still bring them back in. They love this clapping thing at the end because, it makes them feel like a self-reward towards the end. And then you can turn on toggle music. The answer check, this is lovely. If they get answers wrong, it will give them an option to check their answer. So you can use this to your discretion. And once you're done, you're going to click continue. And for those of you familiar with Kahoot, you will know a good way, if you're using this on Microsoft Teams, I recommend that you copy and paste this in the chat so that students can immediately click on the chat. There's no gray area for laziness or Mr. Lui or what have you. I don't know what to type in, because if they click gimkit.com, it'll take them to the main login session. But if they click gimkit.com/live, it'll take them straight to the code entry. Then they click on the code. Then when they join in, as a teacher, you're going to have, by the way, I'm using incognito because my thing is already logged in and I wanted to start from scratch. You're going to click on so see, I clicked gimkit.com. I made the mistake myself. But it'll take you to where you need to enter the code. So you paste the code. All right. And then while they're waiting for other students, they can draw, right? There's like these fun incentives. It's really, really cool. It's really, really interactive. It never keeps students bored and whatnot. So when all of the students join, you click on Start Game. You can toggle music on or off. And then they have the questions. So this is how it works. They answer the questions appropriately, and then they get to get like money points in their account. So the more they get right, the more that they get right, then the more points that they will obtain. And then they can shop. They have money per questions. They can increase how much money they get per question. Oh, sorry, I logged off entirely. And then as the host, you can see the order of students that are in. And by the way, when you click on a student name, if they're on the minus and you want an incentive, you can continue to deduct their balance so that they can rise up to 0 again and keep going from there. Or you can add points, you can freeze them. If, for instance, you're seeing if you want to, what have you, you have full control. You can remove from the game. Sometimes students will create a second account by accident because they didn't get the right name the first time. You can remove the name that is doing nothing away, and that's it. And when you're done, you have other game modes. So for instance, you can click on language arts again. They have humans versus zombies. They love this. It will do a self shuffle, and it will put a bunch of students on one side and another on another side, and you can continue to shuffle depending on what you think is fair. Floor is lava is really lovely because everyone works together. There's team mode. Again, this is like humans and zombies, but much more basic. There's infinity mode. Teachers and educators can play around with these, see how it works, and this can really go on for hours and hours and hours, and it always keeps them engaged. I did this with them last class. Some students were like, Mr. Lua, my hands are sweaty because of how excited I am. Mr. Lua, I love this and whatnot. And you will really see how this can immensely increase review, and it does this unconsciously because they're engaged with the incentive programs and whatnot, but at the same time they're really learning and basking in all of the information. And that's it. That's a very general introduction to how to use Gimkit.
Okay, thank you very much. So that's a nice little intro to Gimkit. So give it a try. Thank you, Mr. Luai.
Thank you, Mr. Patrick.